Hey, what's up, everyone? I'm with one of my favorite one-on-one clients here, Christopher French, an amazing guy, a music composer for TV and movies, busy guy, family man, two kids now, right?
Yep, two
And
kids, man, and
and
one
also,
under one.
and am I right in thinking you got a skincare brand as well now?
My wife does, yeah, my wife does. She's got a huge like kind of daily wellness product brand in Target. Yeah. So
Cool,
there's no
cool.
shortage of stuff going on constantly, that's for sure.
So yeah, I really appreciate you being here. And I wanted to
Uh-huh.
ask
Of
you
course.
about the time that we connected and I taught you the deep meditation. What did your
Mhm.
life look like around that period of time? I seem to remember you were pretty busy. There was your wife was pregnant around that time.
Yeah.
So yeah, what was that like around that time?
So, well, yeah, I've been working as a composer for film and TV stuff for like 10 years or so. Um, it's always been pretty busy. I mean, it's music, so there's an aspect of it that is natural and fun, but it is like crazy deadlines. Usually my work is I come into a project at the last minute and everybody has exhausted their extra few days or whatever of work that they can squeeze out of their own deadlines all the way up to the end. And then I have like 50% as much time as I'm supposed to have to make up for everybody else's overages. So the work that we do as composers and anybody in post-production is usually really condensed and stressful because you're working against like five different people's deadlines. It's intense. And not only is the time aspect intense, within that time, the job is to be as creative as possible, as able to think outside of the box and be uh, imaginative as though you're not super stressed. So it's tricky, man. And that's where my head was at work-wise. My wife, who is a really, successful, high-powered person herself, has always been, she always has a ton of stuff going on and kind of has her own stress that she brings home. And she was pregnant with our first baby. COVID was happening. It was like the middle of COVID. There was a lot going on. And I had been meditating for probably 5 years or so before that. I'm also in recovery from drugs and alcohol. At this point now, I have a little bit over 18 years of sobriety. But at the time, so it was probably like, I guess, 14 years or so of sobriety at the time. But I had never really been able to get into meditation as much as I'm supposed to in recovery, sort of suggested to. Um, I don't know. I got into mindfulness meditation through, a couple different apps, and that had helped me a bit until then, but I had never really found the kind of like relief, I guess I would say, that I uh, clearly needed and had been sort of looking for a good amount of time. So I was like, what else? What can I be doing? I was sort of searching. And when we connected and in that first day, in those first few days, I I don't know, I dropped into a sense of relief that I don't think maybe ever known before. Maybe since childhood, maybe. Um, but in my adult life, never known before. And I was really intent on connecting with you at that time because I had heard about the benefits of Vedic meditation and that style of deeper mantra practice, especially in terms of sleep and stress release, and knowing that I was about to have a baby. I was like, I need to learn this now before the baby comes, because there's going to be no time to learn it after, and I'm going to need it. And I still cite l- connecting with you and learning as maybe the most important thing I've done for myself as a parent. Um, possibly one of the best things, most positive, beneficial things I've ever done for myself, aside getting sober. Um, I'm constantly like referring friends and other people that I know who are also, either parents or similarly stressed out, especially creative people, to your site because I'm like, there is nothing else that I've done from that point on. I have uh, a level of peace and clarity, um, and yeah, peace and clarity and ease, I would say, in my life in a way that I never even knew could exist. I don't know
Oh
any other
man.
way to put it less, I don't want to like, I can't really overstate it.
Well, I really appreciate you sharing that because there's a lot of people out there who I would love to learn this and give this gift to because it was the same for me, of course. I was the same dealing with alcohol problems and dealing with sleep problems. And I learned this and I just thought, oh my God, I've got to teach people this.
Yeah.
So I love it when I
So
come
glad you did.
I love it when I come across somebody like yourself who's just in the right place for it, who's open, and then I can
Yeah.
just see the benefits. I remember during that time after I taught you, the messages you were sending me saying, "Oh, we've just had the baby, and
Yeah.
I was able to be present and awake and alert, and
Yeah.
I wasn't just dying from all the sleep deprivation." And
Yeah.
yeah, I was so
No, it
so
was
glad for
incredible. I
you.
mean,
Yeah.
honestly, when we had her, um, I remember I snuck away the morning my wife was induced into labor for our first kid there, and so it was sort of, it wasn't as like, oh my God, we're going into labor. We had a little bit. It was a little bit more. There was a little bit more planning involved. So I was able to sneak away for 20 minutes in the morning that day, and I still think because of that, because I was able then to be so there and with so much more ease and and kind of peace of mind, bliss. Really, I keep trying to avoid the word bliss, but it's basically that's what it is. It's just um, a misunderstood word, I think. But it, I was able to bring that into the experience for my wife as well, and for our baby. And that night when my wife was getting to some sleep after much needed sleep after birth and everything, I was full of energy and I just stayed awake with the baby all night in my lap and meditated with her. And I still think like because for those first few weeks I meditated a lot around her and in her presence and on the floor while she would be sleeping in the little dock thing, little cribby dock thing. And she has, everybody always talks about how strangely present and open she is, and our new baby as well, because I did all the same things for our more recent second child as well. I still think it's because there was the energy of that peace, that serenity around her as a new human. It's easily one of the biggest, best blessings of my life.
I'm so happy to hear that, honestly.
Yeah.
You have made my day.
Oh,
You
nice,
have.
man.
You've absolutely made my day. Because I already knew this. We've had messages back and two, but to hear you
Yeah.
say it like this, it's like, yeah, I can feel it right here.
I mean, it's huge. And what's crazy is that it doesn't, it's like an ongoing thing, right? I mean, even right now, we're in New York doing a bunch of work stuff and running around. There's like a bunch of crazy stuff going on where I woke up at, I guess, 2:30 or 3 a.m. LA time because that 6 a.m. is the time we had to get started doing stuff here. And I normally would just be like, you know, before knowing this type of meditation, I'd be wrecked. I'd be like kind of groggy on like 5 cups of coffee, just trying to get through the day. But I woke up this morning at that time, brushed my teeth and got back in bed and did my mantra meditation for 20 minutes, 20, 30 minutes while I had a little bit of extra time. And I'm like rejuvenated. It's the craziest thing. It's crazy.
It's amazing how it works, isn't
Yeah.
it? Yeah.
Yeah. And then
Um,
not only, the ripple effects are amazing too, because not only then am I able to have better, more, you know, effective day, basically. It's like the best way I could put it. I'm able to like be a more positive version of myself for everyone I encounter throughout the day. And who knows what the ripple, that's kind of the best way that I can describe how important, any kind of form of deep meditation like this is, because those are the ripple effects that have an impact on the world, on others, on the world at large. Who knows how far out those ripples reach. Someone I tell our daughter a lot, like, when you smile, when you feel good and you're able to walk around in the world with a smile, someone who's having a rough day might see that smile and it might help them smile. And then they encounter someone else and they smile just because they feel good, and it stretches on like that. You never know. So this is that type of experience. A lot of other meditations, and I do still practice other kinds of meditations as well, but for other reasons. This one is like the primary practice that sets me up to be able to basically do any of the other things that I want to do throughout the day. That's kind of how I view it now.
yeah, I view it the same as well because there's lots of other good techniques, and I'm the same. I teach them and I do them,
Yeah,
but I use that one for the nervous system reset.
totally.
And like you
Like the
said, what
baseline.
yeah, and like you said, it's there's a co-regulation that goes on. So when I
Yeah,
get super regulated, when I come into contact with other people and they're stressed, they can feel that I'm relaxed and I'm calm. And so some of
exactly.
that rubs off. And it's
Yeah,
just like you were saying with your wife and your kids, they feel that from you and then they take that on. So
yeah,
amazing.
yeah. And just to touch on, I don't know if, you would have asked this anyway, but the creativity, the creative aspect of this type of meditation, I am very convinced it has a real and palpable impact on my ability to be because I know a lot of artists who practice this type of meditation, free and open to like whatever the source of the creative flow of energy is. Because so much of the time, that's really all that's actually being asked of us as an artist is, and really as any kind of creative person. I mean, you can be creative about your work as an accountant. You know what I mean? It does, creativity is not, isolated to the arts. And all it really is the ability to be relaxed and open. And if you're not relaxed and open, creativity in any form is difficult. It's a challenge that can be grueling at times, especially if you work in a creative field and the stress involved there. But if you're just able to have a practice like this that kind of sets you up right off the bat to being relaxed and open, it's like, it's so free. It's amazing. So that's one thing I really wanted to make sure to mention when we talked, was like how appreciative I am to have this practice, particularly as a creative person.
Amazing. Yeah, thanks for sharing that. I'm always fascinated when I teach somebody who is in the creative industries, like musicians and stuff. I'm
Yeah.
always saying, like, let me know what happens because
Yeah.
quite often I get the interesting stories from those people. I
Yeah.
remember the very first musician I ever taught was a guitarist, and he messaged me a few days later and he said, "It's like the guitar's just playing itself."
Yeah, exactly. Well, what's crazy is, and Paul McCartney talks a lot about this too.
Yeah, yeah.
He practices a mantra meditation as well. And he talks a lot about this. And he says, actually, it's because the guitar is playing itself. It's supposed to be playing itself. That's the point of, being an artist, is it's kind of supposed to, we're sort of supposed to be able to be a conduit of this energy somehow for it to be good. Otherwise, you're just forcing it. And that's not, you know, that's not what makes good art. That's not what makes good creativity in any form. I have a friend who's a jeweler and practices this kind of meditation, and he was talking as well about even just in his work, his ability to think outside the box and be creative when working with clients to make new jewelry. He's able to kind of be out of the way in this process and facilitate something that will be more effective for a client by not being bogged down by the stress and the kind of pre-existing notions and all the, you know, the mental clutter that we walk around with in the world usually. So yeah,
Yeah, couldn't agree more. I always talk about it like closing down all the tabs that you've got
yeah,
open on your
exactly.
laptop and then doing a restart. It does feel
Yeah,
like that, doesn't it?
100% feels like that. Yeah. Or like a hard reset on your phone where you're just
Yeah,
like, my phone, what was just like glitching today? You just hard reset your phone, wait 10 seconds, 20 seconds, and then turn it back on. And suddenly everything's like brand new.
exactly.
Yeah, it's so weird.
Well, that's perfect. I tell you what, let's leave it there. But I really appreciate you coming on here and chatting to me. And
Absolutely.
hopefully, anybody who's thinking about doing this now, they'll hear you and be like, okay, I've got to
Oh,
get some of that.
please do. I will say if anybody is listening to this or watching this and wondering if they should, you know, give this type of meditation a shot, please do, not only for yourself, for us, for the world, because it will be enjoyable, basically guaranteed for you, but you'll also be able to spread that joy outward into the world as you go about the rest of your day. And that's what we need more of in this world, especially right now. So anyway.